Good afternoon, little enzymes. Happy Sunday. The topic of today's video is going to be pen to paper. So the stories we have, people have written out confessions or things that another person reads and it ends up blowing up their relationship in some way. Before we get started, everything that you see and hear in this video will be linked in the description. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we will get right into it. Am I the a-hole for letting you know I am divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you use to ignore me? Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally... Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. Hi, Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry, I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. This is kind of player. Basically, if you're confused what's going on here, a wife is writing out a Reddit post to her husband, and she's sending him the link to the Reddit post because I guess he spends so much time on Reddit neglecting her that she's like, okay, the only way that you'll listen is if I do it in a medium that you understand. So she says, I, 29 female, have been married to my husband, 35 male, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my mother-in-law has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. Ooh. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home, but every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. Well, look where we are now, hubby. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's melons on Reddit than talking to me, literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10, they were a 10 out of 10. Yeah, he's got plenty of time to do that, but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me, but he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. Ooh, yeah. I can see why she left, child. I'm surprised she stayed this long, 10 years. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it, it's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. Oh no, oh no. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My mother-in-law started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me. He just laughed it off, saying his mother means well and that I was overthinking it. The husband sounds insufferable. Oh, I hate when people, it's unfortunate when a partner brings up really concerning behavior about like a family member or a friend of the other partner, and they just brush it off like, oh, they mean well, oh, it's okay, oh, they didn't really oh, you're overreacting. Because from their point of view, they've had probably likely different interactions, or they're just trying to minimize like the things that that other person is actually doing in order to quote unquote keep the peace or whatever. I don't know. But when people bring up stuff like that, you should take it seriously, because you could be in the position of the husband right now where the wife is just fed up and she ends up leaving. I wouldn't stick around for a mother-in-law treating me like that, calling me fat in front of family, telling me I'm too soft, saying that she's gonna have influence over my daughter and she's gonna have to whip my daughter into shape. No, no one like that would be around my daughter or me. So she continues, but the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about our future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid and said I should get over it because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in, a place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Yeah, that's not good. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi! He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life. So I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage with your mother and the woman of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Child, not the a-hole. This sounds like a mess. Of course, there's always two sides to every story, but I believe her. I believe that the mother-in-law really is a monster-in-law, and I would have left too. There's no way I would stay in a situation like that. Although I do have a sneaking suspicion that this is nothing new with the mother-in-law. It could be something new. Sometimes I have heard stories where the mother-in-laws show their true colors after their son or daughter is actually like engaged or married, and then that's when they start to ramp up the harmful behavior. But ooh, child. The first comment says, Stefan, buddy, please reply and tell us how much a good boy you are. Mommy will be so proud. Someone replied, quote, my mom was right about you. She told me you weren't worthy of me and you'd pull something like this. Another person replied, we need to know his username so we can follow him and see all the disgusting posts he makes, especially the relationship advice the OP mentions. Another person responded, unfortunately, he got scared and deleted his account. Not only did his mother raise a bag of garbage cosplaying a human, she also raised him to be a coward who runs at the first hint of some karma. Another person says, not the a-hole. Hope Stefan and mommy wife, mommy wife, are eternally trapped with each other. She failed raising her son into a complete autonomous human and would have tried to damage your daughter. He would have let her. Yeah, that's weird. The way that the mom is with, that's just weird. Mommy wife is crazy. Yo, this can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real. This can't be real. Okay, I see this comment. I was reading divorce stories a while ago, and there's one I'll never forget. This man's new wife divorced him because he was still being breastfed. His mom wanted to spend the night with them on their wedding night and go to the honeymoon too. I'm relieved she found out early on. I cannot imagine that kind of shock and trauma. Bruh. I hope that's a fake story. I'm gonna have to find that story. Hold on. I found it. I did some digging on the internet. So as I'm editing, I'm realizing that I don't even think this is the correct story. I think this is a second story of, and I think this is a second instance of a story where a grown man is being breastfed by his own mother, which is crazy because I realized as I was watching back over the footage that the story that this commenter mentioned, the man, they were already married and the wife ended up getting divorced and the mom wanted to go on the honeymoon. The story that you're about to hear, they hadn't been married yet and the young lady found out right before they got married. So I'm not sure if it's the same story. It's very similar, but that would be crazy if it's not even the same story and there's multiple instances of this happening. Like, what is going on? It seems like this story was first told on the Unfiltered Bride. I guess it's a podcast, and I'll just play the video so you can hear it directly from her. But I'm assuming this is the story that commenter is referring to.
Both by makeup artists. I need to tell you a story that I know. Okay. So,
oh, I'm scared.
You should be. On 2 occasions I've been told this story. I was not at this wedding, but on 2 occasions I've been told this, both by makeup artists. We'll call her Jenny. Jenny says to me, I did a wedding the other day, and you never guess what happened. She said the bride needs to go to the toilet just before the ceremony. This is like pre-ceremony. And she walked into the toilet, and what she saw is enough to end a wedding. What do you think she saw?
Was he with someone else?
No, worse.
Having a wank?
Worse.
Getting wanked?
Worse.
I don't know.
Worse than anything
Goodness.
Sexual. But he was in there. The groom was in there.
Doing drugs?
No. He was being breastfed by his mum.
What?
Why is his mum still producing milk?
She's obviously been doing it continuously to get to that bit.
Absolutely.
Would you call off the wedding? Everybody is in the room waiting. You definitely wouldn't kiss when they say you can kiss the groom.
Oh my goodness. So then there was an article written about it. In the article, they mentioned that the podcast hosts have been accused of fabricating the story, and the host posted the video below to say the story is true and explained in the comments that their original video is now being verified. So she's saying it's true. I've never in my life heard something like that. Okay, well, now that we've gone off on a little tangent, we can continue reading the comments from this original first post. I'll just read a couple more. Someone responded to OP. So now what you need to do is send a link of this post to Stefan. Wouldn't want him to possibly miss it. Good luck, OP. You'll be great now that you've lost that 200 pounds that was hanging around your neck. I'm sure mommy will be thrilled now that you're gone and she's gained the 200 pounds, not the a-hole. And OP responded, I did just 20 minutes ago. So she sent her husband a link to the post. So let's go to the next update. Oh, wait, no, actually there was an edit first on this one. She said, tiny update, Stefan has seen this post. He is mad that apparently one of you found him based on the rate my boobs thing. He has deleted his account. For any purposes, I want to clarify that I left out an actual incriminating information that could lead to doxing him. Any and all people who are pretending to know me or have any incriminating information about me are lying. I am not from South Carolina. I am not moving in with any other guy, and I am also not sleeping around. So now to her update-ish. Am I the a-hole for letting you know I am divorcing you by sending you a thread on a website that you use to ignore me? Some people on Reddit have been pretending to know me and spreading false claims. They've said I'm a deadbeat who doesn't work and that Stefan has 2 jobs to support me. They even fabricated a story about a neighbor who supposedly is a good friend of ours, saying I've been sleeping around and moving in with the guys I supposedly had affairs with. None of this is true. We don't live in South Carolina or the UK, and we're not friends with any of our neighbors. I have never cheated on Stefan, and I work and make slightly more than him, just $1 an hour difference. I suspect these claims might be from trolls brigading or Stefan's friends trying to make me regret posting about this. I am safe and staying with family, which is all I'm going to say for now. I'm working with my lawyer to ensure our safety, and that's all I can disclose at this time. For women who find themselves in my situation and are dealing with a lease, consult with a pro bono lawyer who specializes in rental rights. That's what I did. They can give you advice specific to your country or region. In my case, I was able to move out because Stefan and I had both signed a lease contract and had completed the minimum rental period. After my free consultation, I worked with my landlords, who are a lovely older couple, to arrange my departure. So don't be scared, or you can be scared, but there are things you can do to protect yourself. Also, make sure to run a credit check on yourself. I did, and it's another issue I'm addressing. Ooh, was he committing fraud too? As for recent developments, there hasn't been much new. Stefan is clearly desperate. He and my mother-in-law have both had meltdowns and launched separate smear campaigns. My mother-in-law has spread false claims, including that I'm an unfit mother and that I've been abandoning my responsibilities. I don't plan to answer these claims publicly. I'm collecting all evidence I have, especially since she has nothing to back up her accusations, but I have everything to back up mine. So no, Stefan, this is not going to be a he said, she said situation. Yikes! Sis said I have the receipts. He deleted his Reddit account claiming it was because one person found him, but then he told me a bunch of people sent him unaliving threats, which seems impossible and contradictory. He did send his friends to my post, and I think they sent me some unsavory DMs and comments, allegedly. When I tried to talk to Stefan, he always made me feel like I was going crazy. Whenever I raised concerns or expressed my feelings, he would dismiss them, belittle my emotions, and make me second-guess myself. For instance, I'd come home to find that he had invited people over without informing me in advance. When I brought it up, he'd insist that he had mentioned it earlier, even though I knew he hadn't. Another time, I planned a special meal and asked him for a specific dish, but he claimed I had requested something completely different. When I reminded him of what I had actually asked for, he argued that I must have forgotten my own request. That's maddening. That's enough to make somebody lose it. Stefan would also insist he had completed tasks that I had actually done myself. For example, he would claim he had handled a household chore when I was the one who actually took care of it. When I pointed this out, he'd dismiss my recollection and insist that he had done it. Even in conversations about our relationship, Stefan would frequently deny things he had said or done. If I brought up issues I had with his mother's behavior, he'd claim, You never mentioned that before. You're just being overdramatic. This made me question whether I had ever truly discussed these problems or if I was indeed overreacting. At one point, I was so convinced that I had early onset dementia or schizophrenia that I started to question my own sanity. That's what I'm saying. Like, that's maddening. That's enough to make somebody like really get thrown into some like psychological issue. What I would have done if I was in her shoes, because I feel like I've been in a similar situation before, I would start recording things, like take a video like this happened today, just documenting it for, documentation's sake, or like record a voice note to yourself, or even like write it down in a journal or something that you know that they're not going to have access to, or write it in your notes app on your phone that's like time stamped. So you can actually see, okay, I did say this, or this did happen on this particular day, and you have something to reference to, because someone like gaslighting and stuff like this, it really can make you be like, did I do that? Or like, did I not? It is maddening. So she continues, I felt lost and confused, struggling to distinguish between reality and his version of events. I began to document our interactions just to keep track of what was actually happening. Okay, so she did do it. But Stefan would always find a way to twist things, saying, you must be misremembering, even though I had clear evidence to the contrary. Feeling so powerless, I realized that sharing my story online was the only way to present my truth in a manner he couldn't manipulate. I wanted to ensure that there was a clear and unchangeable record of what had happened. Posting about my experiences was a crucial step in reclaiming my voice and finding support from others who might understand my situation. It was a way to take control of my narrative after feeling so lost and doubting myself for so long. Thank you all for your support during this difficult time. Yeah, I'm happy that she's leaving. I hope they can work out a situation with the custody where the mother-in-law is not going to be involved at all, really. And I hope it works out for her. Let me just see if there's anything else. I'm going through her comments to see if there's any like more information that she didn't mention in the posts. Here's one. I think she's referring to her friends. So she says, they really are, and I have a lot to thank them. It's like the love slap I needed to wake up from this nightmare, especially one night when we were out, not even clubbing, but at a night museum tour, and I was being bombarded by calls because he was trying to make me feel bad for being out. My friend looked at me concerned and asked me if I noticed that her husband had texted her only once. I was convinced that going out was awful for everyone. And then she said, in another comment, she said, I made a friend through work who invited me over for dinner. Her husband was there, and I saw how they interacted. It was really small, but that was basically what triggered the whole deconstruction. He has since also come to work to surprise her, and she has dragged me along to find tiny, silly gifts for him. She is always so excited to go home to see him. He always brings her something home. Last week, she came in with a shiny rock he had found for her, and she proudly put it next to her desktop. So she's basically saying like the friend that she met at work was kind of the catalyst for her realizing that her relationship might not be the healthiest. Anyways, I'm glad she's getting out of that. So we'll go ahead and move to the next story. This one was quite interesting. My 28 female boyfriend's 30 male ex hid a note about his cleaning and dating habits right before they broke up that I just found. How do I talk to him about cleaning habits without him feeling like I'm using his ex's words against him? Throwaway account because I don't want my boyfriend to find this. I posted this elsewhere, but thought this subreddit could help too. I, 28 female, and my boyfriend, 30 male, who we'll call Steve, have been together for 2 years and have been living together for 8 months. I was cleaning our apartment when I found a note in the back of a cabinet. For context's sake, I'll copy it below. Dear Steve's future girlfriend, I know it's you reading this because he'd never clean back here. I'm putting this here because I'm leaving him soon and want to warn you about him. 1, he will not clean. 2, he will not listen. 3, he will make everything feel like it's your fault. It's not your fault. He's just an incompetent man. I'm leaving him. I suggest you do the same. Best wishes, Natalia. Name changed. I read the note and brought it to show him and hear his response. Dang it! I wish she would have just kept the note and found this Natalia and got more information from this Natalia. I don't know. That's how I probably would have did it. But she says he immediately ripped it up and said not to listen to it, that she was crazy and untrustworthy. I told him that the fact that he hasn't found it in the 5 years since they broke up is a red flag to me, because it does mean he's never cleaned back there and that he has been cleaning less and less since I moved in. He told me that it wasn't a problem before the note. This is just his ex continuing to manipulate and ruin his life, and I was letting it work. We continued to argue along the same lines, and I eventually left to spend the night at a friend's place. Steve has been a great boyfriend so far. He gets along with my family. He has given me gifts and flowers and always tells me how much he loves me. He's not wrong that the cleaning hasn't really been brought up before. The note made me realize it had been less and less and that we needed to have a full conversation. He texted me afterwards saying he's sorry that I felt like I had to leave, but that it's an a-hole move for me to take a note over our 2-year relationship and to leave him and our pets alone. Yeah, the leaving, I mean, she didn't really say what happened in the argument, but I feel like the leaving was a bit dramatic. I think they could have just kind of like let it cool down and decided to talk about it at a different time. But the leaving in the middle of the night just because you're arguing about him not cleaning, I don't know. That seems a little bit too far. She said, I don't know what to do or what to believe right now. I'm contemplating trying to find and reach out to Natalia. Her name in real life is pretty unique, so I think I could find her. Steve thinks I should come back home and let it go, that his past shouldn't affect our future. I feel like I could be the a-hole because everything Steve has said about Natalia does make it sound like she was manipulative and petty throughout their relationship, but I don't know who to trust. Okay, so she has 2 edits on this post and then an update. So let me read some of the comments before we go to all of that. The first person says, it kind of sounds like everything she warned you about in the note came true. He had never cleaned there. He didn't listen to your concerns, and he turned it back around on you and somehow made it your fault. Red flag, honestly. Ooh, that person has a point. Everything she mentioned in the note came true. Another person says, so what is your experience with number 2 and number 3 of Natalia's note? Did you see some truth in her words there with your own past experiences with Steve? OP responded, he does listen to me, I think. Like when he gets me flowers, he knows my favorite. We have some hobbies in common and love to talk about them. I feel like the most he's not listened is in this situation because he refused to get past the fact that I'm listening to his ex over him. With that being said, since we moved in together, I do feel like he's putting in less effort when it comes to starting conversations or initiating quality time. To number 3, this is hard for me to answer. I think I can be a people pleaser and tend to think things are my fault anyway, but he's never directly said that's your fault when it comes to conflict. Someone quoted her response and said, quote, when he gets me flowers, he knows my favorite, end quote. And then they added, but is this really listening? There's listening in the sense of respecting you and valuing your needs. And then there's listening, as in learning enough about you to know how to bribe or manipulate you into looking past his shortcomings. Ooh, that's a good note. Let me just go ahead and go to the edits and updates. So, edit, I realized I didn't clarify enough about the points, especially the cleaning. Thought I'd add it here. When we moved in together 8 months ago, the cleaning was 50-50. Since then, he's been doing things less and less, and I'd say it's at like 70-30, maybe 60-40 if he listens to me right away. It depends on the week. I have to remind him to do things like bring his plates to the sink or take out the trash, and I didn't have to before. The dishes will pile up unless I do them, to the point he's had leftover food mold on the plates. I'm not a confrontational person, so I was just asking him to fix it when it came up. The note made me reflect on it more and try to have an actual full conversation, and I will say I didn't feel listened to when I talked to him about it. I tried to use the note to start a conversation about cleaning, and he got so stuck on that I was listening to his ex instead of him that he wouldn't listen to what I think are valid concerns. He thinks I'm letting the note have confirmation bias, so no matter what he says, I'll think he's in the wrong. Also, I didn't leave him permanently. This all happened yesterday, and I only spent one night at a friend's because I didn't feel like our conversation was going anywhere last night, and he wouldn't let me sleep until I let it go. Oh, okay. That makes sense. Oh, that don't sound right. He wouldn't let you sleep until you let it go. That doesn't sound, that's a red flag. But I do understand now why she left. At first I was like, that's kind of dramatic to leave over just like an argument like that. But he's not letting you sleep until you basically, I guess, agree. That's a huge red flag. She said, I'm going back today and wanted to get advice and feedback before I do. And then edit 2, I appreciate all these comments with advice. I'm heading back to our place now. My plan is to first apologize for immediately bringing him the note without thinking of his feelings and validate that it's hard to have an ex's message found. That being said, you're all right that I've been letting the cleaning stuff get away. I don't want to be in a relationship where I have to ask him repeatedly to clean. It was pointed out to me that he should have cleaned the shelves during his move from his ex's place. The fact that it hasn't been touched in 5 years is forcing me to take the note seriously. I don't want to throw away 2 years, so I'm going to ask him to come up with some clear cleaning expectations with me and designated chores. I will make it clear that cleaning is absolutely a deal breaker for me. It's his decision on how he wants to respond. I'll try to update you all. Again, thank you so much for the advice. A couple more comments before we go to the update. This one comment says, OP from an old lady, 58. 2 years is such a very short time. As you get older and live more and more years, it's just math. If you don't know about sunk cost fallacy, please do a little reading. Then flip the story. Dating is supposed to be an extended process of getting to know a person and finding compatibility. Turns out, many people use this process to fake who they are with a long con of convincing a partner that they are someone they aren't and locking down into a long-term relationship. Having now lived through it, I know that long con can go on 23 years and longer. Some people stay in these relationships their whole lives because sunk cost fallacy and fears of being alone or of dating again. I say you just had 2 significantly educational years. They were not wasted. In fact, they will turn out to teach you many hard lessons that would have taken longer time to learn otherwise. Please take a look at r/true narcissistic abuse and maybe Dr. Romani of Med Circle on YouTube. Oh, I like Dr. Romani. I've seen a couple of her videos. Not everyone is a narcissist, but many people are manipulatively in small hidden ways. Depending on your relationship experience or style and other factors like your attachment style, you may be more susceptible to their antics. For now, roll your shoulders back, take a deep breath, and recognize what an outstanding job of taking care of yourself you've done. That's great advice. I like that. Okay, now we can go to the update. Update, I followed your advice from the last post and tried to have a calm discussion with Steve. When I apologized for confronting him with the note, he seemed to take that as an admission of guilt and refused to listen to anything else. I had come up with a list of specific instances of not cleaning like many of you suggested, and he said I was using lists just like his manipulative ex did. So yeah, the crazy ex thing you all said was a red flag was definitely true. When I realized the conversation wasn't going anywhere, he even tried to block me from leaving. Oh, that's when I knew it was done and left immediately. Right. 2 years down the drain, but I'm glad I had the wake-up call before it was too late. Child. As that other lady said, 2 years is nothing, for real. Like, it's nothing in the grand scheme of things. I will let him cool off and then will ask my brother to come with me to grab my things while he's not there. He has a strict work schedule, so I think it'll work out. I am planning on leaving a note there, but probably a little longer with the advice to not show it to him. I'm leaving it in the exact same place, so if he doesn't learn his lesson about cleaning, it will come to haunt him. All he has to do is clean. The biggest surprise out of all of this is that I didn't reach out to Natalia. She reached out to me. Apparently, he borrowed his friend's phone to call her, screaming that she's ruining his life still. The fact that she blocked him and he still had her number memorized just further confirms he was the crazy ex, not her. Natalia found me on social media and wanted to make sure I was okay, and was especially concerned that he'd gaslit me like he tried with her. I thanked her for leaving me the note and saving me time. We scheduled coffee for Thursday afternoon. I wanted to thank you all for the advice, especially the person who posted the Love is Respect website. I took the healthy relationship quiz after our conversation and it wasn't great. You called out how he was weaning me into an unhealthy relationship so well. For now, my friend said I can stay until I find a new place. I have emergency savings and a decent job, so I'm in a privileged place when it comes to this messy breakup and just trying to feel grateful for that. Just posted my final update separately. Thank you all for everything. Ooh, yeah. Whew, I'm glad she got out. The fact that he memorized, I mean, I could see how he would memorize a phone, because I'm good at memorizing phone numbers, but still, the fact that he called the ex and then chewed her out. So this is the final update. Update, my 28 female boyfriend's 30 male ex hit a note about his cleaning and dating habits right before they broke up that I just found. How do I talk to him about cleaning habits without him feeling like I'm using his ex's words against him? As you can tell by my original post, I like to do things right away. It was definitely a mistake to bring him the note right away, but doing the things I did this morning right away was not a mistake, as it allowed me to save my pets. Oh no, what? Okay. First, I want to respond to the comments saying I broke up a 2-year relationship over a note and chores. No, I broke up a 2-year relationship because when I tried to come up with solutions to an unequal situation, his response was to yell and try to convince me there was no problem except me. The final straw was when he physically blocked me from leaving the house after he was screaming at me. That is not okay, and no one should stay with a man who responds to conflict like that. Yeah, nope, because I would have been terrified. You are not finna block me from leaving the house and then yelling at me, screaming? No, nope. The actual update, I wound up texting the post to Natalia last night and she thought it was great. She, like some of you, asked me about the pets. For context, one of the things Steve and I connected on was our love for little creatures. It's why I thought he was such a great guy, because if he could take such intricate care of his lizard, he could do the same with me. I was very wrong. He has one lizard he bought before me, and then we bought 2 frogs together. I have a snake I brought with me when I moved in. I was planning on waiting until he cooled down to go grab my things and the frogs and snake, thinking he would never hurt them, but Natalia changed my mind. She said he could get destructive when he's mad and was concerned about the safety of my little guys. I immediately knew I could not wait until later this week and reached out for a meeting with the landlord for early this morning. I wound up FaceTiming with Natalia last night and we had a long discussion. Natalia is a lawyer and told me that in our state, landlords are required to let me get out of the lease I signed in cases of domestic violence. She also told me that his yelling, gaslighting, and refusing to let me leave are all types of abuse. It's definitely hard for me to sit with that, but the Love is Respect relationship quiz helped me also realize that a bit more last night. Apparently, his constant messaging and control over what I wore and when were signs of abuse too. Girl, you didn't mention that. Oh no. Yeah, that's a huge red flag. Anyway, this morning, Natalia volunteered to come talk to the landlord with me alongside my brother. As soon as he heard the word lawyer, he was on top of it and said I could break the lease, but would still have to pay for all of August, even though I'm leaving 3 days early. I felt like that wasn't fair. He also messaged Steve to say the apartment needed to be empty for emergency maintenance all day today so I could pack my things. Steve messaged back that he was at work all day and wouldn't be home until 6 p.m. When I got into the apartment, it was a mess. He had broken my dishes that I had brought with me on the ground and left the shards laying about. My clothes were ripped up and scattered around our room. Oh my goodness. It was disgusting and heartbreaking. He left his lizard alone, but opened the tank doors for our frogs and my snake. Luckily, the frogs were still chilling in their enclosure, but my snake had gotten loose. This made me the most mad, as she could have gotten cut on the broken plates. I feel so fortunate that she was just hiding in the closet corner and I was able to pack her up safely in her enclosure again. All my things are packed and I'm writing this as my brother drives me back to my friend's house right now. Wow, that escalated quickly. Natalia told me that she actually left 3 notes, one in the cabinet, one on the underside of the vacuum, and one in the crumb catcher of the toaster. The crumb catcher. While we were there, we checked to see if the notes were still there. The one on the vacuum was, but it looks like Steve did clean out the crumb catcher at least once in the past 5 years. He never told me he had already found a note in our conversations, so it caught me by surprise. Natalia and I left the vacuum note as is and replaced the cabinet one. I wasn't comfortable leaving my name on a new note, so my addition was a handout on healthy versus unhealthy relationships and a QR code to the quiz that woke me up. I'll put it in the comments. I'm not sure if I can have an outside link. Natalia said if he didn't find the notes in those 5 years, especially after the move, he probably won't find them again. I'm inclined to agree, especially given he did find one, but then didn't even clean the rest of the house to see if there was any more. Steve doesn't make sense to me, and seeing the state of the apartment really woke me up to the fact that I have no idea who he is. The Steve I knew would never put animals in danger, but I don't think I really ever knew Steve. To the people saying it's pathetic that I broke up my relationship because of chores and Reddit, I encourage you to reflect on the subtle ways that abuse starts. The Reddit thread woke me up to it and gave me the resources to get out safely before it got any worse. I also made an appointment for a therapist. I'm very lucky that my job has good insurance, so I should be able to work through this relationship and am hoping to focus on boundaries and my people-pleasing habits so I never find myself in this situation again. To the people wishing that Natalia and I would get together, we had a good laugh about it. Natalia is engaged to a wonderful man who cleans, listens, and reflects. She said there's a phenomenon that when people break up with their awful ex, their soulmate can quickly follow. I'm hoping that's true. Regardless, I do think I got a good friend out of this, especially since Natalia is a snake mom too. This is my final update. I hope if you learn anything from my experience, it's that abuse doesn't start right away. First, there's love bombing, gifts, and pretty words, and then, slowly, they test how much you'll put up with. You should never have to put up with anything, especially moldy freaking plates. TLDR, after ending things due to his behavior, Steve destroyed our apartment and let my snake loose, but I was able to get off the lease and get my things with Natalia's help. Now I am safe and am looking for a new place to live. Hoocha! I'm glad she got out of that, because it did seem as she said, as he was weaning her into an unhealthy relationship, just doing small things here and there. So we have one last main story. This one is a little bit shorter and I don't think it has an update. Am I the a-hole for reading a hurtful journal entry about my sister-in-law after my brother and his wife read my private journals? Growing up, I, 32 male, used to journal. To my knowledge, no one knew about it or read the heartfelt thoughts I recorded, and if they did, they never disclosed that my privacy had been breached. Journaling became a source of comfort, so I continued well into my teenage years. As a male, I felt a bit self-conscious about it, so I used to hide this fact. My parents are moving, and since they've had this house since my childhood, there's a lot of packing, organizing, and decluttering to do. As they're older, they need some help, so my brother, 39 male, and I came over to assist. While helping them, I found my brother and his wife, 38 female, huddled together, snickering as they read through a journal. It was just a regular composition book, but instinctively I knew it was one of my special journals by their stupid giggles. So I asked, "Isn't that mine?" as I walked over. I didn't know exactly what they were reading, but I knew it was obviously personal and none of their business. I told my brother to give it back, and when I reached for it, he told me to chill and snatched it back. What the hell? Sir, you're too old to be at 39 and you're being a bully. We ended up wrestling over the book, causing enough commotion for my parents to come and see and ask what was going on. He says something like, "You guys have to hear this," and starts reading the entry out loud. That's messed up. That's messed up. His wife is outright laughing, and he's struggling to read full sentences without breaking into laughter. The memory of what they're reading comes flooding back, and I feel a huge wave of embarrassment. I was 15 at the time, and my 22-year-old brother had just started dating a girl, his now wife, who I thought was hot and way out of his league. That journal, without exaggeration, is nearly 2 decades old, and yet they were getting a real kick out of themselves, exchanging comments to my detriment and wanting to take pictures of the page. I would do people like this really exist? That's so mean. You're like in front of him with this very private thing that he wrote when he was younger, reading it out loud and laughing in front of his face. Like, that's mean. My annoyance turned to irritation. Yes, she was attractive, but within 2 years of their relationship, I realized she was ugly inside. I still feel the same way today. I vividly remember writing something harsh about her in one of my journals when I was 18. It stands out because it happened right after my grandmother passed away, and her behavior during our time of mourning felt selfish and insensitive. She's still that kind of person. So I retrieved the journal that contained that particular passage and read it aloud too. I'll admit what I wrote was mean and about how negatively I perceived her character. I told them everything written was my most up-to-date view of her, as nothing has changed about them. I truly find them insufferable and unpleasant people. Things went quiet, and then my brother acted like he wanted to fight me. They eventually left. Now, days later, my brother is blaming me for triggering her depression, which I didn't even know she struggled with. He says she's been questioning her character, and my words are really getting to her. I reminded him of the passage I wrote when I was 15, the one they read aloud and found so amusing, and suggested he refer back to that if he wants to cheer her up. He's telling anyone who will listen that I unnecessarily hurt his wife's feelings and that I'm an a-hole. Am I the a-hole? No. I mean, I do feel bad because this whole situation triggered her depression, and now she's like questioning her character. At the same time, maybe she should. Maybe she should be doing some introspection and questioning her character, because the fact that they thought it was okay to be reading someone's private journal in front of them, laughing about it, wanting to take a picture, but then when he does the same thing, if we're reading journal entries, why don't I go ahead and read this one? But all of a sudden the laughs stop. So while it is unfortunate that it's triggering this season with her, at the same time, I do think if she's questioning her character, that might be a good result. Maybe she should be doing that. Someone says, not the a-hole. They wanted to read your innermost thoughts and feelings. You only gave them more of what they wanted. Another person, not the a-hole. Bravo. It was lots of fun when they were humiliating you, but now she's depressed. She should question her character. Sounds like her and your brother are perfect together. Secure all of your journals and let them stew in the drama they've created. Right. Another person said, sounds like the mirror being held up has revealed the ugly truth. And another response, there's a big difference between depression and being upset because you were called out. Now you're either A, reflecting and realizing OP was right and you're in the wrong, or B, proving them right by playing the victim and using a mental health condition as a shield. Either way, none of this would have happened if they'd just been decent and returned the journal once they realized what it was. Right. Hey, it's the consequences of their own actions directly. So that's the last main read of the video. I'm gonna go into our palate cleanser. It's actually a video for today. It's just a short video. The caption on screen says, these two kids offered to shovel my driveway for 20 bucks. It was well worth it. This is from the r/made me smile subreddit. This video is old. You've probably seen it before, but it's just so cute.
So, hi, do you want us to shovel your driveway for 20 bucks?
Yeah? Yes, we do. I'll get you 20 bucks right now, but we have to leave, so I'll give you the money. If you can shovel it, then we'll be back in an hour, okay?
Okay.
Okay, 1 second.
Did you say that for me?
So, for anyone not watching, the older brother grabs the younger brother. It's two young boys that go up to a neighbor's porch and they're like, hey, can we shovel your driveway for $20? She's like, yes, let me go get the money. When she gets back into the house, the older brother grabs the younger brother by his shoulders and is shaking him. It's like, we're gonna be freaking rich.
Our paper bags, all our money to be carrying up.
Oh, thank you so much.
So then he holds up this little small bag. He's like, yeah, I got this bag. We're gonna be counting our money. We're gonna be rich. And he starts dancing.
We'll probably appreciate it. Oh, dude, now let's do a really good job. because they paid us first.
And then so they run off and he says, now let's do a really good job because they paid us first. It's so cute. Anyways, there's more to that video from what I remember, but this person hasn't posted that here. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video.